Boom. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful market movements out there. One of our favorites, Avalanche, peaking into a new all-time high this morning at $65. Mwah! The bull market continues. Yeah, fantastic to see. Just straight into it. There it is. That's it right there. That's Avalanche on the 6 hour. Perfect learning lesson here. Very similar to what we saw with Solana. I suspect we're going to see another big move in Avalanche over the coming week. Our primary spring, very beautifully offset by pretty much every other spring in the ecosystem. We had a nice widening cylinder, the kind of Livermore pattern out of the spring, which we've gone over many times. I also want to make a comparison to 1 inch later because I think we've nailed that one now I think we've nailed that one at least. And here, this movement, the SOS, this backup phase, and lo and behold, for those of you that were watching in the live stream, remember when I said that this little dip would be the spring right before we likely jumped up? Hey, we were totally correct, or rather, I wasn't correct. The market was telling us something, and the market was correct in telling, at least our ability to interpret what the market was saying was correct. So I believe we've seen the SOS and the backup here. Inside of this small, larger SOS and backup for Avalanche. So I suspect we're going to see new all-time highs. Guys, since day one with Avalanche, we have consistently reinstated our assertion that Avalanche is amazing technology. It is basically into a league of its own. In August 2020, when it went live, we started shaking the rafters. It was at 30 cents, 60 cents, $1, $3, $10. Now it's at 62 at the new all-time high this morning of 65. Again, here, this was a tech focus, right? So I don't just listen to myself. I actually have 1 or 2 other people within the Arcane Bear family, who people have much greater depth of understanding of technology. And as soon as they mentioned Avalanche and showed me the concepts, we fell in love. So we've consistently asserted that assumption that the technology here is really in a league of its own, and that's what the fundamental is. And it's been paying off. The technicals look great. So congrats to the patience on that storyline. Let's go to Bitcoin and use our fundamental North Star guiding light. I just wanted to start with Avalanche because it was such a sweet movement. But the reason we like to, first off, Bitcoin in my mind is basically our core value chain, right? It's our monetary layer. So because of that, I use Bitcoin as our North Star and guiding light for basically the entire market sentiments. I feel that the stronger Bitcoin is, the stronger the entire ecosystem will be. I think that the layer 1 solutions, Avalanche, Ethereum, Solana, some of the other ones, which we're not as big of fans of, like DOT, effectively, they're a different conversation than just solving the monetary layer. They're maybe how we use the monetary layer to do a bunch of other really cool things, right? So because of this, the thesis has two, or it's actually a multiple moving part thesis. Apparently I like video games now too. Who would have thought? That's funny. We've been mostly focused on protocol layer stuff, but we've invested in video games recently. That's just funny to me. But that's what happens when you open your mind and you broaden your thesis a little bit to what the potential of the ecosystem is and what things people find valuable. Now, here in Bitcoin, we have completed what I believe to be our SOS, which was this beautiful wick up, and then our LPS, which was this large wick down. They are on the 6 hour, very, very similar in volume and supply action, which we can see as I drew the line down below. Here, both supply signatures are almost equal there. So that's important to keep in mind. I think it shows the SOS and the LPS period quite prominently. Also, the fundamental here is the data of the removal of Bitcoin from the open exchanges. So here we can see this constant decline in the open supply of Bitcoin on exchanges. This increases volatility massively. Every time a chunk of Bitcoin gets removed from the market, it increases volatility. Now, generally, it increases volatility to the upside when we're losing supply because there's fewer and fewer Bitcoin for sale on the open market, and because of that, you get the rising in price, right? Supply demand characteristics. This is a very, I think, simple story for most people to understand. So one of the reasons why this data point is important for us is even though it's not always a direct measure of direction, as we can see here, the supply started to increase only slightly, and we got a massive drop back here in May, right? From the 65,000 down to the 30,000 price. But now that we continually see lower and lower amounts of supply, that generally pushes the market price up. And this is where the finality of bull markets come from. Unless we see a big turnaround in supply here, that's going to be a clear indicator that we're near the end of a bull market. And we'll get deeper into that as we get closer. I'm going to guess July now, just based off time frame generals here. So big supply taken off the market almost on a day-to-day basis in Bitcoin, which is good. We have not seen that turn around. There are other pieces of data we can look at that are important, like distribution, mining, the miners' holdings, etc. But we'll skip that for now. The fear over greed index, we've jumped back up into 50, which is like pretty much right dead center in the middle between greed and fear. So we're neutral, effectively. This is what market neutrality feels like. Remember, there are a lot of people are still talking about like dead cat bounces or something. I've constantly asserted that this is not a dead cat bounce, that we're going to continue higher. Just the trading ranges here are really beautiful. Now, some of you have mentioned, oh, well, Tio, you're not looking at supply. One of the fun parts about doing aggregate data studies, it's like a meta-analysis. And for those of you that know what a meta-analysis is, it's actually one of the highest forms of scientific data that you can gather, because it's not just one form of data, right? So when we go over and we're looking at Avalanche and Serum and Cardano and Solana and Link and Bitcoin, we're actually using the aggregate data to help us make a better assumption. So this is like a meta-analysis. And what we saw here is that we had a very clear spring around July 17th. And this happened everywhere in the market. Here, July 17th, spring for 1 inch, July 17th, 20th, spring for Avalanche, Cardano, July 20th, boom, spring. And every time we saw those springs, we saw fairly significant upside on every asset. And Solana just happened to be one of the best performers from that spring to the high that it went to. But that spring took place everywhere. So in aggregate, when we're looking at data, one of the ways we can kind of skip using, for instance, the comment here is, Tio, you're not looking at supply and demand characteristics like a real Wyckoffean. Well, that's true, but we actually are looking at supply and demand characteristics. We do that in almost every episode. Look back at what we just did. The SOS and the LPS of, hold on, what's going on here with my screen? The SOS and the LPS here of Bitcoin are noticeably the supply and demand characteristics. That's literally what these supply signatures are. So sometimes I just don't think people are fully listening to what this is. Here's our SOS. Here's our LPS. We had a low volume spring followed by an SOS. This is clearly bullish transitions within the trading range itself. So I'm sorry if I don't spell that out in child speak. We are generally trying to appeal to people that are willing to do their own homework and understand that if you want to get good at venture capital, first off, patience is a hugely important thing. And then being right on the exact day is not important. It's just about being right over a long period of time. And we consistently try to echo the strategy of long-term accumulation. The reason why I like looking at charts, and this is a weird one, because people are always like, Tio, why are you spending time doing this? Well, first off, I like it. I actually like this. I find it vastly entertaining to try to measure the emotional dialogue of people's interests in things via price and supply characteristics. I think it actually gives us a really unique thumbprint or fingerprint of what's going on in the markets and in consciousness. We made some conjecture earlier about new moon pricing, and we've got it in the calendar now. That's our new purchase date. We've just gone straight to the new moon because we thought it was fun. I like ritualistic thinking. I like the idea of religion and repetition. You don't show up and think you're going to be a great guitar player day one. So because of this, you should expect 5 to 10 to 20 years of interest in something if you really want to bring it home. So because I believe that this is art, this is kind of the artistic way for me to measure sentiment, and it's made us an enormous amount of value. And because of that, we want to continue to share. The Arcane Bear was all designed just only to communicate value to people. So that's been our kind of guide, our guiding light, not price, not how much money we have. Those are, when I first like started living in $10 million homes and driving $100,000 sports cars, you realize that it's not worth that much. Yes, it's fun, it's exciting, it's good to do once, especially like for entertainment purposes, but the real value of life is a much deeper version of gratitude, peace from mind, as Naval would say, and I think that that's very little to do with wealth. Now, wealth will obviously help you achieve those things, but it doesn't change your focus. My focus here is to try to provide as much value as possible and help you not make all the same mistakes I did in my learning process for the 10 years to get to focus on, oh, I love venture capital, I love technology, I love asymmetric growth and upside, and here's the simplest way to deal with that. Heads we win, tails we only lose a little. So going over 1 inch, another great example of a beautiful trading range and an interesting part of the supply characteristic in the learning process. So we had constantly been looking at 1 inch as a falling wedge, and we thought it was going to repeat very similarly to the way Avalanche did. But 1 inch all of a sudden dropped out of the rising megaphone and formed this kind of LPS right below the point of control. As you can see here, the red line moving through the center was the point of control. And what I wanted to highlight was the idea, again, that when we're looking at trading ranges, this accumulation schematic is generally what's known as a head and shoulders. On the left in phase A, you see the left shoulder, phase C, the spring is the head, and in phase D, the right shoulder itself. And that's, I think, exactly what happened here with 1 inch. We had our left shoulder followed by our the head, which was at the spring, and then the right shoulder, which fell right below the point of control. And look, even in our diagram here, the right shoulder actually falls back below the point of control throughout the center or approximate center of the trading range. So now that we've jumped back up in 1 inch, I suspect that over the next 24 hours, you're going to see the next move in 1 inch come into play. Now, this is just a technical conversation. 1 inch is nowhere near as exciting as things like Avalanche. And when we get here, what we're really wanting to do again is test the long-term thesis about the structural integrity of human emotion, right? Again, the core thesis here is that everything exists together at once. I know it sounds kind of hippie probably, but I believe this is a true story. So what we get is kind of this reflection of human consciousness in everything, right? That's why all the markets kind of drop at once. This is pretty clear. All the markets hit a bottom around March 11th, 2020. So now I believe what we're going to do here is jump up into this second blue box and fill our SOS and LPS range. And again, look at the similarity here where phase D jumped up, boom. And this is where I thought we were a little bit further ahead than we were, was right here. I thought that we were about to see the SOS of phase E start here, but in the head and shoulders, it clearly drops back below the point of control, as we've seen in our accumulation schematic here, before jumping back up and then doing one more little jimmy jammer like this. So I'll draw it in here. I suspect it will go like this, and then we'll continue probably $6 to $12 for 1 inch as well. The fact that Avalanche made a new all-time high today, very, very exciting. It's gotten rid of most of the supply. We did not manage to come back down as low. So I think we're going to see a continuation of this bull market in many assets. There's so many bigger players here who are significantly more sophisticated and understand that the depth of technology like Cardano, like Solana, are actually something you should invest in, because it's not guaranteed that Ethereum is going to make it. We have no idea. Ethereum, I've made a joke the other day on one of our board meetings. I said, Ethereum is like in Honda, and they just keep adding like turbos and intercoolers, and they update the suspension. Whereas things like Solana and Avalanche were just better cars out the gate. Avalanche was a much better designed vehicle out the gate. And everything had problems. You know, even Bitcoin back in the early days, there's a bunch of glitches most people don't talk about, but Bitcoin came out the gate stumbling too. It wasn't perfect. It's still not perfect. But now it does one thing really freaking well, and that's all we need it to do, right? Ethereum could just end up being the NFT chain in the future. That's literally all it could be, and that would be enough to keep Ethereum alive. So it's really hard to tell what technology is going to end up doing too early on in the process. So Avalanche looks great. 1 inch, again, I believe we're seeing this nice head and shoulders. And just for fun, while we're here, let's look. You know, there are a few others. So we saw mostly falling wedges. For instance, if we go back to Solana, this beautiful falling wedge into the trading range before the breakout, right? So here was our falling wedge, boom, right into a low volume spring. We had a nice climb, nice rising channel outside, and then as soon as we hit the box, we just basically exploded. There's nothing holding it back. And again, bam, right down to the spring, nice rising channel out of the box, and then kaboom. And then in both phase, these are usually more where people, so effectively this is where you would see the cup, what a cup and handle would look like in my opinion. It's like, it goes like this. Here's the cup, doon, 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 doon. And then you usually see the handle here. I think that schematic 2 usually has a bit of a deeper drop in the SOS. And we've seen this stuff come alive. And this would be very similar. What would we call what would be the channel? I don't know if there's a structural version here. We do have a few of the old, let's see if I actually have these on the computer right now. I'll just take a minute to go over, I think that's in distribution. We have some of our really old drawings. Oh yeah, here they are. So here, here's a, I mean, we could look at accumulation schematics actually as well. It'd be the same thing, bull accumulation. Oh yeah, okay, so here's the drawn up versions. So yeah, this is the rising gradient bottom. This was the ascending channel. Sorry, I don't have all these up. We're still kind of building stuff, guys. It's always a process. So there's the rising channel. Here, oh, double bottom, there we go. That's what the accumulation schematic looked like for the double bottom. Hey, we've got a few more of these. I guess I should probably upload these, shouldn't I? These look great. Oh yeah, here, this is the head and shoulders, the double bottom. What else was there? Oh, just the reaccumulation schematics. Damn, these look good. We're gonna have to finish the rest of these because these, like the idea, like the ascending channel here, boom, 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 boom. These are super powerful. This is probably the most powerful accumulation pattern. We haven't seen any super powerful ones like this yet. We did in the early parts, and you could even make an argument that seeing this tight of a channel on Solana was a very strong indicator that was going to be powerful as well. So. But again, those accumulation schematics out in the wild, you know, you're not trying to get exactly right. So what we do is we look for the general schematic, and we do a meta-analysis, which basically means we look at multiple assets. And then from there, we do our volume analysis. We had a low volume spring here. And our SOS is actually, well, again, Ethereum is actually in a pretty weak position. I'm not as bullish on Ethereum as a lot of people. I'm much more bullish on something like Avalanche. If you were to ask me, okay, which do I want more of? Definitely Avalanche. I'm not super confident about Ethereum at this stage. I've said that for a while. Has it performed well? Yes. Has it not? But it hasn't performed as well as Serum or Avalanche or Cardano for that matter. It is great technology, but I feel like it's a Honda where they just keep adding new pieces to the damn car, whereas Avalanche is actually a nice kind of race car. So yes, Ethereum's doing pretty good on the track right now, but as soon as the Avalanche team got their cars warmed up, the tires put on and fueled up, it's likely Avalanche is going to absolutely destroy Ethereum. But whatever, what was the point of all that? Oh yes, give us a thumbs up if you like this content. Follow us on all the social media channels. Oh, here's a fun thing I also wanted to share and go over. Boom. We had so much fun doing the last one of these that we decided to do another one. So I like drawing. I've been an artist my whole life. I just like doing stuff. I guess maybe more than an artist, you could say I like to make mistakes. So this is one of my favorite new mistakes. It's called BitBear. Now BitBear and all of my art pieces are sold for charity. So this is how we're running this one. Last time we did one of these, we raised over $1,600 for a local animal shelter here in Costa Rica. Then we visited that animal shelter, made a video about it, and gave them the money in cash in hand as part of the video. So the purchase, or the person who wins this one, will get to collaborate with me on which charity within Costa Rica we help. Now, it doesn't actually have to even be a charity. if you win on this one, I will collaborate with you to say, let's find a family, like a single mother who's down on her luck, and like we did where she's living on a dirt floor. We'll pay to make the floor, buy the kids the stuff they need for school, fill their fridges with food, whatever you would want to do. I will collaborate with you, but it has to be here in Costa Rica so that I can make the video about it. So BitBear is up for auction. You can find it by going to arcanebear.com/BitBear. So if you want to participate in this fun kind of social meets tech campaign, so Tio has fun things to do in his spare time to A, make art, and then B, make more art. I'm very grateful for that. I figured I'd try it out again because I had so much fun with the animal shelter last time that we would do another one because I like art, and then we get to make more art. And then we get to do fun things with the community. Actually, technically, too, what's kind of fun is now when you go to the Arcane Bear collection, here it is, you actually see all of the art pieces that will be going through the charity campaign. So I've fixed it now so that all of our charity art pieces will show up here. I didn't do that for the first few because I didn't know how to use OpenSea, but now we've got it figured out. The Arcane Bear collection will always house the original art pieces that we sell through here. So there's only 2 days left on that one. I probably should have given you guys a little bit more heads up and time to decide to play on that one if you wanted. But anyways, no matter what happens, these are a lot of fun for me. So for all of you that participated in the last ones, thank you. I absolutely love that. Oh, and speaking of, we're just going and giving stuff to help other people, let's jump on kiva.org and help an entrepreneur out, and then maybe we'll take a look at a few of your guys' thoughts and questions to end today's episode. So for those of you that do not know, Kiva is a 501(c)(3), a nonprofit organization that helps make loans to underserved and underbanked entrepreneurs all around the world. You like that? That sounds like a damn pitch. Tio, you got that down. If you have not yet, go to sign up for Kiva. Now, I make no money from this, but I do think they are freaking amazing. So I continue to highlight their work because I love this tech meets social stuff. So big shout out to Kiva. You can make a loan to these entrepreneurs around the world, and some of you have seen us do this. So boom, here is my dashboard for Kiva. You can see I'm logged in as Arcane Bear. Currently, we only have $147 to lend. We'll add a bunch more to that next time. One of the fun things, go to arcanebear.com/Kiva and sign up. And look what happens. We get to make loans to entrepreneurs together. And those entrepreneurs, like 98% of the time, pay the loans back. So together as the Arcane Bear family, ladies and gentlemen, we have lent out over $17,000 together. Congratulations. That is approximately 295 different entrepreneurs around the world who have helped make steps in furthering their business because of our community collaboration. So I love this stuff. I think it's super exciting. We're just going to go in and we're going to lend some money. We usually go straight to women and agriculture because we like both of those things. I'm a big fan of food and women. So that's where we're going to go. Let's see. She only needs 50 bucks. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, there we go. So here we go. It's if you haven't seen again the platform, I'll just kind of show you guys through. We've got there's Santos in Nicaragua. She needs $1,100. With only $50 to go. Oh, we'll just close out this month for fun. So let's read her story. I think it's kind of, oh, they upgraded. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the front end upgrade of Kiva right now. This is great. Look at Santos. $25 to go. No, let's go. We want to fund all of her. What are we doing? Make a loan, change a life. Oh, okay. Well, maybe it will let me edit it after. Yeah, there it is. There's 50 bucks. Let's go back to Santos though. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Did they not do a great job here? Give us a thumbs up if you think Kiva did a good job with their platform update. This looks so much better. Yeah, look, she's in Nicaragua. Nicaragua at a glance. The average annual income. Wow, this is cool. The new data they added. So average annual income of Nicaragua is only $4,800 a person. That's like what, $300 a month, $400 a month that people make? Crazy. So Santos' story here, married, 3 children, experiencing growing coffee. She needs a loan to help provide maintenance to 3.5 manzanas. I believe manzanas are like lots or plantels, like a plot of land for productive coffee. The investment will be used to buy supplies, fertilizers. Well, we're not a big fan of fertilizers, but we'll help you out here. Manure and herbicides. Well, you got to protect those crops. And I do love coffee. So many great things. Coffee, farming, and Santos, which means saint in... we're going to donate $7 to Kiva, and then we lend the $50 to Santos. And then she gets like, I think it's like usually 12 to 24 month terms to pay those loans back. And boom, there we go. Simple as that. Okay, now we'll take a look at a few of your guys' thoughts and questions. We'll go over that now. Flipping screens over here. Okay, any idea which Fortune 500 company is teaming up with Cardano? Nope. Again, I'm actually much more, I personally think Avalanche is really still undervalued. I think Cardano is overvalued. If I were to do the Gary Vee like overrated, underrated, I would say Avalanche underrated, Cardano overrated. That's just a personal thought. Let's see. What else are you kids asking? I got to get this bear. Nice. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. Gary Dennington says, "Good morning, Tio. I seem to have a new habit forming in my routine. Thanks for stimulating change." I love that. Again, our goal here is just to help communicate the value, to help skip a lot of the mistakes that we made and go straight to like much higher value propositions for yourself. Nick Gonzalez says, ADA is live right now saying Tesla is going to accept Cardano. Oh, cool. I don't, it'll be really interesting to see where this stuff goes. A lot of people don't notice until they see prices. So they're kind of looking at prices, which is a funny story. But what's your capital gains taxes in Costa Rica? I don't bank in Costa Rica here. The money that we move to Costa Rica is all through like a natural ginger ale company. We bank offshore for crypto. Red says, I love the show. You're one of my favorite channels. Thanks. I appreciate that. I also saw someone drop a super chat a while back. Oh, there you go. So that was that question. Okay, great. Well, thank you for re-asking it because I missed it. I don't actually suggest you bank in Costa Rica. They're not super easy to deal with. There are much more favorable countries. That would be my suggestion, not advice. Well, what's your year-end thought on Avalanche? I'm heavy on it since following you. I ignore year-end prices and focus on decade-long movements. If you focus on these, like, oh, what's it going to be at the year-end? You're not thinking broadly enough. Yeah, that's my thought. So don't be so I know it's hard, like, to think, oh, well, what is an investment going to be for me in 10 years? Yeah, that's difficult for most people, but as soon as you can start to think like that, it's much easier to win the game. And for instance, I'll give you an example. When I first started playing the guitar when I was like 17 years old, I was like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. Imagine what it's going to be like when I'm 25, 30. Like, that's so far away. But just like with any good practice, you give yourself the time and the results show up. And guitar is one of those things. Just a little bit of playing every month. And before long, it sounds actually pretty good. most people never make the initial investment because they're like, oh my God, it's going to sound bad. The only downside is that it might sound bad. And this is like the whole idea behind heads I win, tails I only lose a little. Have you painted? Have you ever painted? Have you ever tried picking up a paintbrush? If you haven't, you should, because those little risks, those little mistakes, they pay off when you learn how to take them. And that's what I love about the investment thesis, because it's not just about money, it's about anything you do in life. You get in the ice bath. The only downside is it's gonna get cold. It's not a whole lot of downside. Anyways, thank you all. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the